drug addicts aren't bad parents, they're just selfish parents. And that's the problem. You can't really love somebody. You can't, if you want to put them first when you have a drug addict first.
Yeah.
So your kids are always going to come second, your wife's always going to come second to the drugs.
And this is a story about a traveling man.
Welcome to the Love Overwhelming podcast, where we believe when people are supported that hope is developed, and hope guides people in their recovery and life's journey. Thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for subscribing. I am your host, Chuck Hendrickson, Executive Director of Love Overwhelming. If you haven't subscribed, you should. You see, we have an exciting series coming up that not only looks at the complex issues of homelessness and symptoms of mental illness and recovery and community, not only here in Cowles County, but we're going to be taking a look at it regionally. And one of the things that I want to share with you is this interview and just a portion of it, and I want to set this up for you. So this interview is in Aberdeen, Washington. If you guys are familiar with Aberdeen, to me, it's famously known for the home of Kurt Cobain. Kurt Cobain is the musical genius behind the band Nirvana. And I've been a huge fan of Nirvana since I was young and wanted to be able to take advantage of the time while I was in Aberdeen doing these interviews for the podcast to go check out the Kurt Cobain Memorial Park. So after conducting 6 or 7 interviews and engaging for a long time with individuals there in Aberdeen, I went and I found myself at the Kurt Cobain Memorial Park. I had my camera. I know that there is graffiti art under the bridge there. I've seen it online before on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, and so I just wanted to go see that. I'm a fan of graffiti art. I love to take pictures of graffiti art on trains and wherever people graffiti, right? So I went and checked it out. My mind was still going a lot from these interviews, though. And so I know I was just being busy because I just needed to be busy at that time. And I'm taking these pictures and under the bridge, and there's a homeless encampment. There's obviously someone who's sleeping under the bridge there where I'm taking these pictures of, and they weren't there at that time, but their stuff still was. And so as I just took a moment and I stopped and I looked around, I looked out at the water, and it was beautiful. It was a nice sunny day at that point, even though earlier it had been overcast and drizzling a little bit. Sun was out, and the sun was in my face, and I just took a moment. I just had my camera by my side and was watching, and I was reflecting on some of the interviews that I had just conducted. And one of those interviews really stuck out to me, and the words that you heard in the beginning of this podcast, those words stuck out a lot to me. So as I was standing there and I was thinking, I was looking, I look over, and as I'm walking back to my car, and I see a guitar stand that's empty, and it made me laugh. I didn't understand it at first because I couldn't see, and then I saw that the guitar stand had a plaque, and it said Kurt Cobain's air guitar, and made me laugh. And there was a gentleman there at the park, and he and I conversed a little bit about it and just about Aberdeen in general and the park and what a beautiful place Aberdeen is. And but as I was leaving that conversation and smiling and laughing about the Kurt Cobain's air guitar that just had a guitar stand that was empty, I immediately went back to thinking about this interview with Jeremy, the gentleman that you heard at the beginning of this podcast. So what I want to do now is I'm going to share with you a clip of our interview, and this is the end of the interview. And let me set this up a little bit for you. In Aberdeen, there is a methadone clinic there, and at that methadone clinic, every week, there's a van that comes, and it's a harm reduction van. And the harm reduction van, you'll hear a lot about it in this episode when it comes out in the full episode, but that's where I met my new friend Jeremy, and he was getting services there. It was a nice day. We were in a very nice parking lot. It was clean. There was privacy fencing around the fence, and then there was an alley right behind where the van is set up in this parking lot. And in that alley, there's probably 40 to 50 people. They all appeared to be unhoused. Heard some things go on over there that won't discuss in this part, but maybe in the full episode. But that's a setting of where I met Jeremy and where this interview took place. And so I just wanted to give you that setup of where we are, what we're doing, and what he's there accessing services for harm reduction. So I want to share again with you the rest of this interview part with Jeremy in Aberdeen, Washington. So tell me about some of the solutions that you think that you would have or implement maybe if you were able to.
Well, if I could actually implement anything, for one, I would start with education younger for your children.
Yeah.
I'd have mandatory. These kids need to start learning in schools and public programs of what mental health is and awareness.
Yeah.
That way, they can be aware of it before they start turning to using, because using works. Mm-hmm. Let's face it, you use it because it works. It numbs you.
Yeah.
And it takes away those problems. So if we could actually get it to where people are more comfortable talking about it and work in a program, I think it would work a lot better. Not CPS where they come in and take your kids and ruin families, but somebody that comes in and works with your families.
Yeah.
Drug addicts aren't bad parents; they're just selfish parents, and that's the problem. You can't really love somebody, and you can't, if you want to put them first when you have a drug that's first.
Yeah.
So your kids are always going to come second. Your wife's always going to come second to the drugs, and I think there's a lot of ways. The methadone program gave me a way to actually get my life back. You can actually think again.
Yeah.
I mean, it works.
Yeah.
People say it doesn't work, it works.
Yeah. And how long have you been off heroin?
Oh, geez, I've been going off heroin now for 6 or 7 years.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And I'm not saying I haven't gone back and reused, because
Yeah.
I have. I'm not perfect, but I don't never longer need it to wake up in my days, and
Yeah.
I can live a life without it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and relapse is a part of recovery. We know
It
that.
is.
We see that, and in every part of life, in my opinion. But
Right. Bridges, you know what I mean? You can burn some bridges,
for sure,
Come
sure.
back and build a couple.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I appreciate it, Jeremy. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, man.
All right.